Hello and welcome back to lesson 2. Don't laugh.
That was awesome. I'm sorry.
Okay, we are on page 495. So again, we're all about geometry, and we learned about polygons in the first lesson, and we counted the sides, and we noticed that with regular shapes, same number of sides, they had the same number of angles. So that was pretty cool. And so now we're going to learn more about angles. So it says, I can identify angles that are right angles, greater than a right angle, or less than a right angle in shapes. The Spark Your Learning says, Felix wrote this riddle. I am a closed shape with at least 3 angles and 3 sides. My sides are not all equal in length, but all my angles are equal. What shape am I? So we know that an angle is made up of 2 sides coming together at a vertex. So if all of those angles are the same, that means they have the same direction of the line, I guess is how you could describe it. So I'm thinking of a shape at least 3 angles and at least 3 sides. So it could be a triangle, but that might be difficult to do exact angles. So we could do more than 3 sides and do 4 sides and go from dot to dot. Do you see what shape I'm doing? It's a rectangle. Okay, so all of these angles are right here, perfectly squared. The sides are not all equal. The top and bottom are, and the side and side are. And that's okay, because that's the definition of a rectangle. Even though the side lengths are different, they come at the angle the same way, 90 degree. We're going to talk about that right now. Next page. Okay, it says, Sanjay makes a coloring book with different shapes to color. One of the shapes is shown below. How can you describe the angles of this shape? Looking at it here, we have this one that's like kind of little, this one's really big angle, little, and then this one makes a perfect square, like that. So it says, oh, it wants us to do like all these steps. Okay, well, before we do that, let's go to this connect vocabulary, because then it'll all make sense. A right angle is an angle that forms a square corner. The blue square marks a right angle. So you will see this all the time in math class. You will see a little square in the corner, and that is super important because that tells us that that angle is exactly 90 degrees and it's exactly a right angle. And that is super important information. Right now, it's just kind of cool fact, but when you get into your later math classes, that is going to be like super duper important. So we want to make sure that we get in the habit of recognizing right angles, knowing what they mean, and knowing how important they are. So part A says, use a square corner from a sheet of paper like this one to check the angles in Sanjay's shape. So I'm going to take this piece of paper. It just has a bunch of notes on it. Okay, so I'm just going to take the corner and I am going to see if they line up with the shape. So if you'll notice, this paper's good because you can kind of see through it. Ooh, if I can figure out how to hold it. Let's see. It's kind of hard. It'd be easier if I just moved to the camera, but basically I'm lining up the corner of the paper with that right angle, and you can see that they perfectly match, right? It's like all matched in there. But what's also cool is that you can see how it cuts out over here and over there. So if we tried to do the same thing with the other angles, they would not line up perfectly. See how it like shoots down? Let's see. Let's see, where is it going? My book, I'm having a very hard time holding these things. But basically, it comes inside and you can see it through the paper instead of perfectly outlining the corner. It'll like come down like this. If it's not a right angle, it'll like come down or go out. So like this other angle, if we line that up with the corner, you can see one line is lined up and then the other one goes way out of town. It doesn't go with it. So that's how we describe angles. Right angles, perfect square. It could be greater than a right angle, which would be going like way out, or less than a right angle, which would be little. Okay, so let's see, we did all of that. Circle the right angles or square corners in Sanjay's shape. That was this one. Draw an X on the vertex of the angles that are not right angles. The rest of them are not. The closed shape has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides and 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. It has 1 right angle and 3 angles that are not right angles. So, the turn and talk. Are all right angles the same? Explain. Yes, all right angles are always 90 degrees. They will always be that perfect square. Always, 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 always. That's why they're so important. That's why they have their own little blue square to indicate that that is a right angle, because it will always be 90 degrees. Okay, next page. The blue angles are right angles. Blue? Oh, the purple. That looks like purple to me. The red angle is greater than a right angle. The yellow angle is less than a right angle. So that's what we talked about just now, where the paper was overlapping. So you didn't need to know this yet, but if it's greater than 90 degrees, we call that obtuse instead of a right angle. And if it's less than right, it's acute. You don't need to know that yet, but they do have names. So this is greater than 90 degrees, less than 90 degrees. Use a square corner to compare the angles in the shapes to a right angle. So you will hold up a paper again in the corner and just describe, if you can fit the paper in and it like perfectly outlines the corner, that's a right angle. If it goes out, like this one, see how it's like going out? That is greater than a right angle. And if it goes in, like this one, goes in, then that is a acute, but less than 90 degrees, less than a right angle. Now for the little pentagon, little house, this one would be perfectly matched up, perfectly matched up. Let's see, draw a small square to show each right angle. We did that. Draw a circle around the vertex of each angle that is greater than a right angle. So greater than a right angle, that would be like this one goes way out, that one goes way out, this one goes way out, that one goes way out. Shade the vertex of each angle that is less than a right angle. So that would be this one is less than, this one is less than, that's less than, and that's it. Draw a shape that has exactly 3 right angles in the workspace above. Exactly 3 right angles, let's see. Oh, well, I guess it could have, let's see. It could have other angles with it. Okay, so I did this. Oh wait, that's not it. Ah! How do I do 3? Let's see what the book does. Oh, okay. So the book did... That's what the book did. Don't do this one. Because then we have right, 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 obtuse. Okay. Or greater than a right angle. The check understanding says right angle, greater than right angle, or less than a right angle for the blue angle. So number 1, which part are we focusing on? This little tiny guy right there. That is going to be less than a right angle. Number 2, that is a perfect square. That is a right angle. Number 3, this one right here, that is so big. That is greater than a right angle. So it goes less, right angle, greater for number 1, 2, and 3. Last page. Okay, number 4. Tim cuts a rectangular tile on the diagonal from the top left to the bottom right corners. Before the cut, there are blank right angles. So before, we have a rectangle tile, 1, 2, 3, 4. Rectangles and squares have 4 right angles, always. That's part of their definition. After the cut, there are blank right angles, so he cuts at a diagonal like this. So cutting these 2 angles, slicing them, so they're not right angles anymore. Imagine 2 separate pieces. So now there's only this right angle and that one. So now there are 2 right angles and blank angles that are blank than right angles. So if you have a right angle and you take part of it away, you're obviously going to end up with less than a right angle. You're not adding anything to it. So then there are 2 angles that are less than right angles. That's what you'll write. Number 5, write the total number of each kind of angle. Draw a small square to mark what appears to be a right angle. So, total number of each kind of angle. So here we have, I think that there are 0 right angles in this one. It doesn't look like any of them are perfectly square. This one is greater than, this one's greater than, so there's 2 greater than. I skipped the less than. And then there's 1, 2 that are less than. This one, number 6, that looks like a right angle, so there's 1. This is less, so that'd be 1 less than. Oh wait, no, this one's less too. So there's 2 less than and 1 greater than. Okay, number 7. The incoming and outgoing angles of a reflected light beam are always equal. Angle A is formed by the reflected light beam. Is angle A a right angle, greater than a right angle, or less than a right angle? What do you think? It looks like less than. Okay, so that is all for lesson 2. So I hope you learned a little bit more about angles and how to describe them. I hope that went well. I know it's a lot. Gosh, I'm so tired from all that math. So good luck on your homework. Do your best. Let me know if you need anything. But yeah, this is the last week of school. It's so crazy. So just hang in there, do your best, and continue to work on your end of year assessment as well. Love your guts. Bye.